Now that's what I'm looking for. G'day, it's Michael Guest here. In this episode of Start Your Own Battle, we're going to actually start in here, nice and close, get some live bait, and we're going to head wider and see if we can't turn one into a big yellowtail kingfish, or at least some type of yellowtail kingfish. And I've got to tell you, when it comes to baits for kingfish, the humble yellowtail is pretty damn hard to beat. They're tough. They'll go up and down in that deeper water, no problems at all. This one's in the back. I'll take that out of there, but that there is a cracking kingfish bait. It's a big step just there from 120 down to 130 metres, and that's a great place for kingfish to hang out on big ledges like that. So they love the current, they love the tide running downhill, which is what it's doing at the moment, coming from the north, the east coast current down the east side of Australia, and it hits those ledges that face that way and then pushes up, and they just love those little upwellings, and they'll sit on that up current side. So what I'm doing is moving up along this bit of a ledge, along that bit of a ramp, that drop off, and then I'll work my way along. But just think about that if you're fishing for, if you're live baiting for kingfish, fishing for kingfish in closer around rocky headlands and islands and places like that. Wherever that current's coming from, the fish will generally, 99% of the time, be on that up current side, the kingies, in that current, sitting there on those pressure points, and that's the place to fish. All right, let's rig one of these live yakkers up. So that's that 10-0 inline circle hook, which really lock into the corner of the jaw in around that mouth area of the kingies really well. 80-pound fluorocarbon leader. So we're just going to go underneath through the jaw latch there, and then back up so it sits through the nose. So when that yellowtail gets down deeper and that sinker's holding it sort of vertically that way, and the current's pulling, that fish will sit in the current like that, and that's how you want it to sit. Three-way swivel there, some 40-pound leader as a breakaway, and 80-pound fluorocarbon leader there. So that's going to handle pretty well most kingfish that I'm going to hook here. I'll never say all, because you never know what's going to happen with the kingies. They come in just an unbelievable range of sizes, from absolute brutes of things. Doesn't matter what size they are, from even those fish that are around that sort of 2 or 3 kilo on the right tackle are great sport fish as well. But out here, anywhere from that sort of 5 or 6 kilos up to sort of 14, 15, 16 kilos, you never know. I've caught them up over 20 kilos, just the odd one or two. So you got to be prepared, and this sort of tackle is going to handle any of those class fish. If you get into some smaller fish, you can always peel the drag back a little bit. Just back it back. This is a new slammer. This one, it's got such a huge drag progression. Anywhere in that drag cycle, in that drag range, it's super smooth. So yeah, you can always pull it back, but importantly, you can screw it right up and then fish that 50 to 80 pound rod to its absolute maximum. All right, so I'm on the bottom there now. So looking at the sounder, those fish are holding about 20 metres up off the bottom. So I'm just going to crank that back up. A, it'll stop me from getting snagged. B, give me some room for where I'm away from the bottom if I do get a kingfish on. It's not right against that sort of structure where it can bust me off. And the other main reason is that's where the fish are. So I want that live bait sitting right where the fish are. And in this point of time, it's about that 15 to 20 metres up off the bottom. Well, it's getting a bit of a touch there now. It's important just to let them hook themselves with that circle hook. Come on, load up. Yes, got him. Oh, there we go. It's important when you're fighting any fish, and especially kingfish, every chance you get to gain some line. Not so critical now, we're up here, but down the bottom each time, pump, wind down, until you get them away from the structure. And here's a nice little kingfish here. I reckon I can just take a wrap on him and lift him straight up and show you. Look at that. I reckon there's bigger ones down there than that, but that's a pretty cool start right there. Circle hook's right in the corner of the jaw where it's supposed to be. Off you go, bud. He'll rocket back to the depths, this bloke. Whew, there he goes. Well, I've managed to land one nice kingfish so far. So before I drop back down, just thought we'd have a quick look at the gear. Penn Regiment PE 5 to 8, so that's 50 to 80 pound. It's a short jig rod, lots and lots of power right down into that butt section, so you can really load up on those big kingfish. 7,500 size spin reel. That's a Slammer 4. Unbelievable drag right across the board. So it's just a matter of tuning that in to suit the rod. Don't go too hard. Make sure if you're fishing with a mate or yourself, before you drop down, make sure you're happy with that drag setting, that it's not too tight and certainly not too loose for those kingfish, because they are one that are going to get you into the bottom pretty quick if you don't have everything right. Some 80-pound fluorocarbon leader, and I've tied that on with an FG knot. So I've got a length of leader there. That's that FG knot just there. So that's the FG, onto some 80-pound fluoro, as I said, and then let's have a look at the terminal tackle. Sit that there for a minute. So I've got a 3-way swivel and a good length of 40-pound fluorocarbon leader with a loop. So that loop, if I want to go in a bit shallower or the current slows down, I can simply slide that big snapper lead off and put a sinker on to suit the conditions, and then a short length of 80-pound fluorocarbon leader and that 10-0 inline circle. So that's those there. So chemically sharpened, inline, lock into the corner of the jaw. And if you're catch and release fishing like I am today, perfect. If you want to pop that out and let that fish swim off, you haven't got J hooks sort of jamming them down in the throat on a big bait either. So that's a really good way to go. And to kick things off, don't forget those little sabiki rigs are just ideal for catching those live yakkers or slimies. So that's enough about the gear from me. I think it's time to drop down and see if I can't catch another one. There's a great patch of bait on the sounder there now, and no matter what depth you're chasing your kingfish in, anywhere there's constant supply of bait fish, whether it be yellowtail, cow and young, slimy mackerel, doesn't really matter what it is. They love garies and pretty much anything that swims a kingfish will have a pretty good crack at, but sitting in and around the bait schools, in the right area, in those pressure points, that's where the kingies are going to be hanging out. It's a bit of a bite. Yep. Got him on. Right. I reckon that's what we might have come for. Come on, bud. They're amazing fish, kingfish. And they'll fight all the way to the top. I've got a great show on the sounder, and that's what we were looking for all along. And put that live yellowtail hopefully in just the right spot. Oh, kingies have that big head lunging action. You can see it through that rod tip. So that's 50 to 80 pound. It's loaded up pretty well there, and you can see that big thump, thump, thump. Doesn't matter where you catch them, they fight from that hook up all the way to the boat. And in this deep water, they will fight all the way to the top. Get them in that shallow water, you can have just some fantastic tussles in and around there. But I'm getting close now, and yeah, looking forward to seeing some colour and showing you what a big green and gold fella looks like. Righto, so what I'm going to do, I'm just going to sit my rod there. This kingfish is pretty well behaved, and give him a good thumb grip. So I've got a lock in there. One thing with kingfish, they don't have sharp teeth like a lot of other species, so you can safely do that. I'll sit my sinker into the cup holder if I can. It's like playing mini golf there. And I'll show you what a kingy looks like. Look at that. Wow. Sensational fighting fish. I think people will argue about the toughest fighting fish in the world, but for me, without a doubt, it is the yellowtail kingfish. And the fact that they can come up from, that was around about 100 metres down, that fish, and fight all the way to the surface never ceases to amaze me. So it just shows you how tough they are. You catch some of the other demersal fish, they'll end up blowing their swim bladder and they come up quite easily, but these blokes, they'll come up, they fight all the way, and they'll swim straight back down when you pop them back in the water. And then the tackle there, I'll sit you there. I think he's a pretty good stunt fish, this one. He's going to behave himself. Yeah, there's that reel that we spoke about, 7500 reel, that P 5 to 8, nice short rod, so lots of power with that short rod, and you can control it really easily. You've got a big long rod to use, then that's going to make things pretty tough on your body when you're trying to wind those fish up and down. So nice, light, ergonomic outfit, and there's the result. Off you go, mate. There you go. Come on.